I'd like now to look at your latest film, An American Werewolf in London. How actually did you get the part? Did you meet John Landis at a party or what?
No, I met Landis through a friend about 5 years ago. And this is before he made Kentucky Fried Movie and Blues Brothers and Animal House. In fact, he was just about to start Kentucky Fried Movie. And he was talking about this film that he'd always wanted to make, which was American Werewolf. And he sort of talked about the story then. But it didn't seem like anything that was actually going to happen. And then about a year ago, it started up again. He said he was definitely going to make it. By this time, he'd made the other films, and it was feasible that he would get the money. Because he wanted to make it privately, and it also wasn't a large budget film. And I went, yes, yes. And he told me the story, and it sounded really quite crazy. And I thought, there's no way this film's going to work at all. And then last November, he sent me the script that he'd written. And I was extremely impressed, because I thought it was very funny. And I recognized also that it was funny also because I knew him, and I recognized all of the characters being in some way partly him. I also thought he'd drawn the characters very well and very honestly, and it was also frightening. And then he said, well, you know, do you want to play the role? I said, terrific.
I wonder whether you could give us a brief rundown of the general storyline for Werewolf. I'm sure the Imperial College audience would much rather hear it coming from you.
Okay. What happens, it opens with two young American men who are hitchhiking across the moors. And then the next thing you know, one of them is woken up in the hospital, badly injured, and is being told that his friend has been killed. I play a nurse in the hospital who looks after him and gets rather attached to this strange young American gentleman, who is then visited by his friend, who is dead in a state of decay. He tells me, of course, I don't believe him, and then it develops from there to where he believes that he's a werewolf.
Now, I understand in the film some of the parts are quite horrific, for example, involving decaying bodies all over the place. Now, were you actually involved in any of the gory parts of the film? No,
I think one of the things that did attract me, because I had been asked, you know, am I interested in horror films? Well, I am if they're good, but not necessarily as roles, particularly as, you know, women's roles in horror movies tend to be all you do is exercise your vocal cords. You're running and screaming and hiding in the shadows somewhere. In this, my role is just purely that of the nurse, falling in love with this young, rather engaging American gentleman who thinks he's a werewolf, and the relationship with him. And then the only time I get involved is at the very end, when you realize what has happened. The point of the film in some ways is that it's funny because of its reality, because it is contemporary, and because this person is saying they're a werewolf now. You spend all your time laughing at it. But then it's like us telling stories, ghost stories, you know, and you, in some way, you laugh at them because you know that it's not real. But one part of your mind is always going, yes, it's feasible and possible, and you're frightened by it. But no, I'm not involved in the gore, but it's still scary on another, you know, do you see both sides?
How did you find John Landis as a director to work with? How did he compare with, for example, other directors you've been involved with in the past?
Landis is very vital, and he works in a very particular way. He brings his enthusiasm. He knows a great deal about film, and he brings his enthusiasm to the set. And usually on film, what tends to happen is that in between scenes, people get very slow, and everything slows down, and it takes an hour to put the lights up, and everything quietens down, and by the time you come to do the scene, it's very, very flat. Well, Landis never allows that to happen. Everything moves along very fast. He's constantly talking about film or telling stories and joking, and so when you go in to actually play, there's this very high energy. He also often keeps cameras rolling, which is that normally you'll play a scene and they go cut, and then you go, oh, well, that didn't work, we'll do this and change it. Well, I was very shocked the first day of filming, because instead of saying cut, he went, carry on now, we'll say, like, start again at this point, and you're thrown right into the scene again without having a chance to think about it, which actually makes one, you have to be real. There's no way that you can try and, you know, do things and work it out. It just is whatever happens. And I think that's what he catches, is a spontaneity.